All right, welcome to episode number 3 of No Traps, No Glory.
The German way.
Yeah, the German. Well, we're drinking coasters, we have to. The third episode, we have none other than the Italian stallion, the Harrison heartthrob, Jercules himself, Mike Basciano. Welcome.
What's up? Thank you.
This is going to be some fun stuff. So, for those who don't know, Mike and I have been training partners since my entire time I've been with Mark. He's been with Mark longer than I have been. And he's an animal. He's had a long career, as well as he strikes heart into the fear of everybody in the gym, which we'll get into later on. But for now, we're going to start from here. So Mike Gui, as he's affectionately known, tell us how you got started.
Most people don't know that Gui thing. It's dying out a little bit, but
yeah, they're going back to Bash because they don't know other. But Mr. Gui is his original nickname. Where'd that come from? We'll start with that.
All right, so I got started. I met Mark when I was like 15 or 16 years old. When I was in high school, this guy Dom Zanat came to Harrison to coach as an assistant. He competed in Olympic weightlifting.
Okay.
Mark was his coach. And he brought me to Mark when I was a junior in high school just to meet him, show me some things. That's when I first learned how to do handstand push-ups, which was one of the greatest exercises.
All right, you're already proceeding. We're going to ask you that.
But
you guys can't see the enormity of this man's upper body.
To cut it down a little bit, I got started with Mark officially the fall of 2006.
Okay.
That's when I got started. So I was 17, almost turning 18.
So you were a senior in high school?
No, freshman in college.
Oh, freshman in college then.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's when you transitioned full-time to Olympic lifting?
Yeah, when I went to Iona College for football. I quit after 2 weeks, and the guy Dom was like, all right, well, you're a lifter now. And so I just started with Mark. He gave me the opportunity in September, and my first competition was the Met Championships, like Halloween time.
Oh, okay, so that's coming up. That's actually that's 2 weeks.
Yes, 12 years.
12 years. Yeah. That's how long you've been lifting with Mark for?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good amount of time. What was your first competition like?
So my first competition he brought me to was the one in September that they do at Lost Battalion, just to see if I liked it and wanted to continue to do it. So I did. And then I did the Met Championships. My first ever snatch was 65 kilos. Okay. And I held it, and then the guy said down, and I dropped it behind my head. And Mark looked at me like, what the fuck is wrong with you? But it was a fun competition. My best clean going into that one was like 110. Okay. And I ended up cleaning 112 off the ground.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's great.
So
what was your body weight at the time?
66.
Oh, you were little.
Yeah.
You were real little.
Yeah. When I first started with Mark, I probably weighed around like 135, 140 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you got up to full 77.
I'd say like within a year's time, I was around 74, 72 consistently. Okay. I wasn't a full 77 until I was like 23 years old.
Okay. It took you time to grow into
that. Yeah, and I'm still trying to like grow into it. But right now I'm like 78, 79.
Okay. That's a fair way. That puts you right at the 81.
Yeah.
So and that goes into, will we ever see you compete again?
Probably.
Yeah?
Probably, yeah.
As a master, or are you going to come back after the academy?
I'll come back after the academy for sure.
Okay.
With the new weight classes, we'll see which one I choose for. 73 is a good weight for me too. Like I can cut down to that pretty easy, and I'm actually pretty fast. I think I'm a little bit faster.
Yeah.
At that one. Like
I remember when you were 69. When we did Lost Battalion that time, when you looked like you were going to die.
I had AIDS.
But you were especially with the snatch. You were really quick with the snatch, and you didn't really sacrifice too much with the clean and jerk. Yeah,
no. When I cut down to the 69, and I did the Lost Battalion meet, and then I did the meet in Stanford after, the whole focus was snatch. That's when I made the 122, weighing like 69.2 or something like that.
That's a good snatch.
69 on paper, but and I made 142 that day in the clean jerk on my second attempt, and I cut it there because I was healthy. I figured I'd leave healthy that day.
And then you qualified for the Open with that. That was the goal, right?
That was actually I qualified for that was 2014.
Yes.
That Open. When I went to Lost Battalion, cut down to 69, made it, and then the week later, that's when I blew my back out in training. Yeah, and that's the hand truck. Yeah, no one really knows much about that one. So, and that kind of brings into the next phase. I mean, a little early, but nonetheless, injuries in weightlifting. Most people, they don't really, especially newer lifters, they're not really familiar with being injured or the rate and consistency of training. So let's say you think you attribute your injury to the fact that you cut down, you're at weight, and then right after that meet, we got right back into training. Yeah, I think it was a number of things. I lost like 17 pounds in 3 weeks for that meet.
That's strenuous.
I went from like a full 170 down to 152.
I remember for the meet I did around the corner here that time, I think I lost 2 kilos which is 4 pounds in probably a week's time, and that was rough.
Yeah,
that was a rough cut. That was a hard cut.
So I cut down to that, and then just like training at that body weight, and then gaining like all the water weight back like within 2 days, and then just kind of still being dehydrated. And we were doing snatch triples that day.
I remember
from
that.
the high pads.
I remember that.
And it was the 3rd rep, of course, in the last set.
Yeah, and that was in the basement too. That wasn't even here. So most of the too bad we should try to find. Actually, I think I should be able to get some pictures we could put into the frame here of the basement to get people an idea of where Mike and I came from.
But injuries, as much as that was a terrible injury for me, it re-taught me how to lift.
Okay.
Because let's say that injury happened in November. I couldn't do anything till New Year's. My first workout, I remember it was like January 9th or 8th or something like that. And I just had to refocus on how to use my legs.
Okay.
My lifting career up until then, I basically was just relying on my pull with just hip extension. I was really just like pussy banging everything, as Mark would call it. And just kicking everything away. And after that injury, I realized that I had to, for me to protect my back and do what I love to do, I had to reteach myself. And that's how I kind of came up with the 80-120 exercise.
Yes.
Where like you, in your warm-ups, basically you pull 80% of your speed and you're moving underneath the bar 120% of your speed. And it really just taught me to push more, and all the things that Mark was trying to tell me when I was younger. It took one really bad injury for it to really click. And I did a lot of film study on the Chinese and how they were pulling, and just try to focus that onto it. And that's where I went from the back injury to snatching 122. Yeah. And I was a lot more consistent in the basement, from the low pad making 120, high pad 122 with no straps. So
it's interesting how that works, because I mean, for myself too, that time squatting right on this very platform, it ended up hurting my back. And after then, it was the same thing. Took it a little different, not so much technique-wise, I think it was for me, but in terms of how I approached my workouts and stressing what I was going to do and being a little bit more oriented with what I wanted to accomplish for the day. But how ultimately, long story short, how it takes an injury for you to be able to come back, learn what you're trying to do, and then make more progress. Because after, let's say, prior to that point when I hurt myself, 115 was my best snatch at the time. And then it was a wall. Every time I'd just be stuck at it. But then changed some exercises, did things a little bit differently, and I came back to where I finally eventually snatched 120, 125. But it took an injury like that to get me to focus a little bit differently on how to use myself, a way to plan my training. And I think a lot of people, especially for us, I mean, you've been with Mark, you said 12 years. For myself, I think it's around 8 now. But people don't realize, especially newer lifters, the amount of time that it takes to develop, to really learn what you're actually doing, in as much as just, I'm going to train. Why am I not getting better? And sometimes, unfortunately, it takes an injury for you to be able to really realize a few different things to make it click. And that's what Klokov, when he was here, he was even saying that as well.
Yeah, I've always had back problems. I remember being a freshman in high school. During football practice, my back would tighten up. So it wasn't a lifting thing. It was just kind of something that was natural for me.
Okay.
That my lower back would always just kind of stiffen up. And I never had great flexibility, but I always had great mobility.
Okay.
And people don't understand the difference in that.
And then explain that, because that's actually something very important.
So, like, flexibility is like when you're just cold, basically, and can you touch your toes. But mobility is how you move through certain things. And I remember my college...
The ranges of motion?
Yeah. My college professor, Dr. Selwyn, we would always do classes on like how to test for certain mobilities or flexibility, range of motion things. And she'd always laugh at me. She's like, it's amazing how inflexible you are.
Yes.
But when you go to do certain lifts, you can do anything that you want.
Yeah.
But that's just always how I've been.
That's interesting. And that's what do you attribute to, within class or even yourself, will you attribute that to just genetics or the type of training?
A little bit of genetics, but also like, I would, genetics and just learning how to push through certain things. Okay. And when I was first started with Mark, the overhead squat wasn't always comfortable, but you have to just kind of push into it. Yeah. But yeah, so I always had back injuries. Okay. I remember when I was like 18, 19, like 2 years into Mark, where like there was a point I couldn't put my socks on. Really? Yeah, because my lower back was always so tight. Okay. And I just kind of kept going through it, and I didn't think I was gonna do lifting that much longer. And then it took when I blew my back out in the basement, and I had to go to the MRI. And I just remember being 25 years old, in a wheelchair, going to get an MRI. I'm like, something's wrong with this. Like, I don't want to.
Was it a wheelchair or the hand truck?
No, it was You brought me in the hand truck in the basement, and I slept on the floor for 3 days. But
just to preface that, so after he hurt his back, the only way we were able to get him out of the office and to get him home, well, first we carried him. I remember, what was it in Mark's office? Did you walk or did I carry you?
You and Mark carried me.
That's right. We carried him to the car.
I couldn't stand up.
And then when we got to his house, he stood on a hand truck, and I wheeled him in and delivered him to his couch in the basement. And your father's like, "Sonny, you doing this to get out of take? Wait, what did he say?
Are you only doing this?
You only doing this to get out of taking the garbage out?"
Yeah.
So, but back to
So just to finish on the back injury thing. That's always been my biggest injury. I've been lucky where, knock on wood, my knees and my shoulders have always been good. Mm-hmm. I've pulled my trap out before. That sucks.
That's common, though.
It is.
Because I get that all the time.
It usually happens if I'm doing power snatches, split jerks, or a push press, and I'm just either not warmed up to it, or it's just that kind of day.
Okay.
But ankles, knees, like shoulders will get tight sometimes, but it's really just about like fascia manipulation on the chest to get to open that up.
And that's, you say fascia manipulation. That's something very important that you and I both ascribe to a lot, between Perkins, between Mark, Mountain Man. The amount of work that you need to get done on yourself to be able to stay fresh and maintain doing this type of training, because if you neglect that, you're going to find that you stagnate or have issues quickly.
So when I think I was 22 or 23 when I met Seth Foreman in Stanford.
Great guy, by the way.
And he's the one who really saved my lifting career, because he taught me not a lifting aspect, but from the movement aspect. When I say movement, I mean like speed and agility. He taught me how to use my glutes.
Okay.
Essentially, he taught me what a foam roller really was, and he taught me how to do certain things to use my lower half and really push more. And when I was training with him for like 6 months, that's when all my lifts just went through the roof.
Really?
And my back wasn't hurting anymore.
How old were you then, or when was this?
I was 22, 23.
22?
That's like when I went from snatching 115 when the earth stood still to snatching 130.
Yeah.
Cleaning 135, 140 to cleaning 150.
Okay.
Jerking 150 to jerking 170. So and I attribute all to him, because he taught me different things that actually saved my body.
Okay, and that was right around the time that we met each other.
Yeah.
Okay, so I remember that.
All around that same time.
Okay.
So, so getting back to fascia manipulation, meeting Seth, meeting Mark Perkins, and Keith Thomas, who were all in the same facility, they just taught me to kind of like open up my mind, think outside the box for certain things. Like, I was having a little bit of knee pain. Okay. Just like regular patella tendonitis, and it just wasn't going away. And I went to Perkins, and I was like, "Can you just check out my knee, see if it's like if there's any damage?" He found this spot in my quad. Okay. And he worked on it for 12 minutes. I thought I was going to see Jesus. Yeah. It was so painful.
I know that feeling.
But when it finally loosened up, essentially what it was just a knot in the middle of my quad. Okay. When it finally broke, that had to be almost 8 years ago. Okay. I've never had pain in that knee again.
Really? Interesting. Because I have something like that going on now. And it's a couple weeks ago, my one lifter from Canada, she came down, she was working on my left quad. It was pain like you couldn't even begin to describe. Like, I usually can handle everything. I thought I was going to pass out at one point. It was just unbelievable. But after she worked on it, my knee was fine. It's come back a little bit now, so I just got to get more work, obviously. But it's incredible the difference that type of manipulation makes.
Yeah, so it's a lot of it. And when Klokov was here, he said 70% is recovery, massage, diet, sauna. The 30% is just in gym training, and that is so true. Where if my lower back's hurting, I see Mark. Yeah. No matter what. If anything else is bothering me, even if something isn't injured, but my mobility feels a little down, I'll see Keith or I'll see Perkins. Okay. And the fascinating part with those guys is if my wrist is hurting, they won't even look at my wrist. They look at everything else that intertwines to the wrist. Okay. I see them for 2 to 3 sessions once a week. Pain's gone.
Yeah, we can also put a link to these guys and how to get in touch with them, because they do phenomenal work.
Yeah, they really do. And not even just the work that they do on you, but the exercises they give to you to do on your own, the feedback you give them is huge.
Cool. So that's awesome. So, and speaking of Klokov, I was going to proceed a little bit, but he's your favorite lifter, correct?
By far.
Why is that? Tell us.
Just his intensity.
And this is something actually he'll go into it, but I spoke about it the last podcast that we did. So as you were.
So when you're doing this stuff, one thing that I think I picked up on from Mark right off the bat is if you're going to do this, snatch is probably the hardest thing to do in the world. One of the hardest things to do in the world. Like, it's so complex that if you're gonna do it, you gotta fucking do it.
Okay.
And you gotta put all your mental and physical energy into it. And nothing grinds my gears more than when people just fucking slack off with it.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna come in here and you're gonna do something, don't dick around, just do it.
Yeah.
So one thing that I learned from Mark was just if you're coming into training, don't bring your phone, don't bring your music, just get down here and just do what I'm telling you to do and go. And just really focus. So Klokov is one of my favorite lifters because if you watch him, in training hall videos, they have the music, but they're professional athletes, so that's fine. And we listen to music in here sometimes too, which is okay.
Yeah.
But
It's all your focus.
it is. It's, sometimes, I mean, I have my best lifting when there is no music, and it's just, me and you or Mark.
Yeah.
And it's just
Absolutely.
how to get after it. His intensity, just like how ferocious he is, not just in his lifting itself, but his whole demeanor and his whole approach to everything, his warm-ups, the way he walks up and approaches the bar. The way I describe Olympic lifting sometimes is like a baseball swing.
Okay.
A baseball swing, you can't be tight, right? You gotta have you gotta be calm and relaxed, but you gotta be vicious at the same time. And if you watch, a guy, any baseball player.
Okay.
Really? Like, if you watch Aaron Judge, he's just smooth, boom, swings the bat. So lifting's the same way. You can't come up all tense and you can't be going nuts. You got to have like some kind of calmness to you, but you got to know how to go after it at the same time.
Yeah, to be able to use both elements to push your body to where it needs to be pushed and allow it to move in the way it needs to move, as opposed to just walking up. And so, especially you see a lot of newer lifters are so stiff and rigid, and when they go to make a lift, they're just right from the floor. You can tell they're already going berserk or locking up, and the bar's gonna.
That's all stuff that comes with experience too.
Yeah.
I think people compete way too soon nowadays, where they're not ready for the platform.
No.
And you can see that. Not that they shouldn't compete, but maybe compete at a lower level meet as opposed to a higher level meet.
Yes.
When I just say a higher level meet, like a busier meet.
Yeah.
If you know there's going to be 100 lifters in a meet, then don't go into that one. If it's going to go to a smaller one, just kind of get on, get some experience. Like my second competition ever was in a basement in Long Island. Okay. Mark just like, we're just gonna go here and it's a mock competition. Okay. Just to get you more experience.
Yeah, I think we've done that here a few times for all the newer lifters. It's something that now I should do that. Try to make a point to do it more for the newer lifters, but something I was always able to have happen. Now Jim's just busier for it, but it made such a difference doing a smaller meet, especially like an in-house meet like this, because you're in your own environment, it's comfortable, but there's a little bit more pressure to it now. So you're able to learn and see, and then for everyone who competed afterwards at a meet, and just like you're saying, it really set the tone, so they had an idea more of what the pressure is going to be like, and then you gradually just keep building up into different situations.
Yeah, it comes obviously with who your coach is too. Like
Mark's been obviously.
So my first meet was the Metropolitan Championships, and I remember like 2 years ago, either we did the Mets or somebody did the Mets, and Mark was just going off that one team brought 30 brand new lifters for the first time. Nobody should be doing that meet for the first time. And I was like, well, Mark, that was my first meet. And he's like, yeah, you're different. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, and it's true. It was just. I remember I did that meet. I remember. I think a few of the girls might have as well, but. It was, I think, one of the CrossFits down in the city, and it was just this melee. People doing the first meet, they weren't even watching their warm-up attempts. I believe, if I remember, they just gave everybody their individual. It was just a snippet of paper that had all their warm-up attempts of what to do. So there wasn't even really coaching involved. It was just like, this is what you're going to do. They were trying to work with them. But when you have that volume of people trying to go through, you can't watch everybody's warm-up attempt. It's very difficult.
I've coached a couple times at a meet, and it's different. If you're not comfortable with everything, what I mean is like, watching attempts, counting attempts, and just kind of like game planning and being aware enough to when another lifter changes their cards, now your lifter's up. If you're not used to that, then you're gonna make your lifter's day a nightmare.
Absolutely, and also I think comes into a big part too in training, because let's say obviously the coach needs to know what the attempts are going to be. But also, too, as a coach and an athlete, learning and being comfortable making bigger jumps and how to be, let's say, coach and athlete adaptable to, all of a sudden moves quicker, someone dropped or so. One, being able to read what the cards are going to be, but again, too, the athlete being able to adapt and be confident to make larger jumps if they have to. that's very important to be able to do, as opposed to, let's say, newer lifters in a routine where they go up literally 5 kilos every time, and all of a sudden they're going to be coming up soon. You have to skip an attempt and it throws someone off. A lifter's got to be able to be ready to change, but be confident to change at any point.
And that, I think that also gets back to, again, your coach.
Yeah.
Is your coach comfortable with knowing you as a lifter, what you can handle, what you can't handle?
Yeah.
That was something that, one reason why I never left Mark ever was because he just knew me better than I knew myself on most days. He knew what I could do. He also believed in me sometimes more than I believed in myself, where he would just put something on the bar knowing I would go after it always.
Yeah. That's a great thing to have.
Yeah, it's, you know, with Mark, you know, Mark sometimes he'll throw lifters out, he'll yell at people, he'll kick them out of the weight room, he'll just tell them to go fuck off, whatever you want.
Yeah.
With me, I always respected his time more than anything.
Absolutely.
Where he was willing to put in the mental energy to help me get better. So every workout I came in, I always gave 110%. Even if I was throwing, I'll never forget, like my first year, I was throwing up because I was like a stomach bug, and he was still making me come down and lift, and I'd still be doing cleans from boxes. Yeah. In between attempts, go throw up. Yeah. And it was something that if I knew I wasn't gonna, that mentally I wasn't gonna be able to put in the energy, I would take a break where I'd just go lift on my own. Okay. And I'd tell him, like, Mark, look, I need 6 weeks off. Not from lifting, I just need 6 weeks off from coming in and doing the same regimen. I'm just gonna kind of go off on my own, do my own thing, and when I'm ready to come back to you, I come back. And I think he always respected that. If I wasn't mentally ready for training, that I wasn't going to dick around with him. Yeah, and that's like, I said that to him the other day, actually, is how if someone in here was just saying they were tired or something like that, and plenty of times where I didn't get enough sleep, wasn't feeling well. Even at one of the Mets that we did, I had stomach bug, and I was just literally every 10 minutes running up to the bathroom, peeing out of my butt, then coming back down. And I lifted, I think made competition records that day, but I was still dying and respected his time for coming down, and I never once complained about it. But going back to, there have been times where I didn't get adequate sleep, wasn't feeling well, whatever it was, and he'd ask how I'm feeling. I'd say, I feel good, I'm all right, whatever. Never would I tell him, I'm tired, I'm not feeling it, never, no matter how I felt. And even times like that where I'd come in, I'm feeling like crap, there have been times where I felt like that, but I made records. And then I said to him the other day, it's like, you know, at any point, no matter how I felt, I've never told you, and I don't think I ever would tell you that I'm tired. My father taught me when I was young, like when I first started working out, that, you know, sometimes your best days in the gym are the days that you don't want to go. Sometimes your worst days in the gym are the days that you can't wait to get to the gym. And then you feel like you're going to conquer the world. It's all about the mentality. Yeah. You never know what it's going to get. You never know. And when I talk to people about training athletes or training lifters, if you're going to get into this profession, the thing I always say is the first question that Mark always asks us, how you feeling today? Yeah. No matter what. Because you see a lot of people, they're big on programs. And I'm not against programs, but I'm against being extremely rigid to the program. Yes. And I tell this, I go to Hofstra and teach a weightlifting class like once a semester for one of my old professors, who's a good friend of mine. And I always tell them, you gotta talk to your athletes. You gotta get to know your clients. Because if you're working with a high school kid and they're in a phase in their program where they're supposed to be doing back squats, let's say like 90 or 95%, but they were up all night studying for a test, broke up with their girlfriend, didn't eat breakfast, failed their test, they're not squatting 95% that day. So you got to talk to them. You got to get to know them. You just got to like communicate with them big time. And with Mark, I never told him I was tired. And we were just talking about this earlier this morning, actually, where every day I come in for a workout, how you feeling? Even if I was on 2 hours of sleep, hung over to Mark, I feel fucking great. Let's go for it. Whatever you want. What are we doing today? And the reason too partially with that is because, as you said earlier, he always knows. He always knows how you feel. He knows how you look. He knows what you're capable of. So it's never a question. It's like that trust. I mean, there have been times where he told me to go up where I felt like death, and I was like, oh, all right, and either have good results of it or did not have good results of it. But for the most part, he always knows what you're capable of doing at any given point. Yeah, and the beauty of Olympic lifting is it's not a lot of repetition. So even if you're feeling like dog shit, you just got to put all your energy into 2 seconds for one rep. You get 5 minutes. And then 5 minutes of rest. Yeah. And if you could just focus on that, not only do you walk out of here physically better, but more mentally better. Absolutely. Because you know you can do it when you're tired. You know you do it when you're not in perfect condition. Exactly. So. And the only time that, you know, I'll come up to Mark and be like, look, this is bothering my back. Let me do something different. Then he'll be like, okay, we'll stay away from that. But that's also, again, knowing your lifter. And the thing that I learned with age was just kind of being smarter with recognizing what bothers my back.
Okay.
And if I can feel my back starting to bother me.
Okay.
Or when I was younger, I tried to push through it and I ended up hurting my back.
Yeah.
Now, if I feel something's bothering me, I'll just move on from it. And I'll do something else and go from there.
That reminds me of, I think it was one of the, it was actually on All Things Gym, the interview with Dimas that they did. They said, and he was saying the difference between, Dimas was saying the difference between him and Kakashvili was the fact that he would push through no matter what and just keep going and going and going, have injuries, do all this stuff. Kakashvili would come in. If he wasn't feeling it that day, he'd stop and just move on and say not today, but then come in the next day. And that's something that it takes time to recognize, and I think that's more of an ego thing, because I know too, like, this hurts, but you know what, I want to get better, so I'm going to do it. But over time, at least for myself, I've learned is that you just don't need to. There's another workout. You have more. Workouts are cumulative. It's not that one day that's going to make or break you. It's being smart and how to push yourself to progress and when not to. Then ultimately you get more out of.
100%. Nork Vardanyan talked about that too one time. That you're not feeling great. Why you don't have to kill you. Like if he couldn't snatch 140 one day because he wasn't feeling sharp, he'd go down to 110 for a set of 4 or a set of 3, something like that. And Mark always said that, especially when I was younger. Like if you ain't feeling great today, we'll work harder, but just lighter. Yeah. And people don't understand that sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes the days like that, you get more out of that than going heavy. And even time when you're forced to scale down, forced to backtrack a little bit, your technique is more consistent. You give your body a rest that you actually need, and then the next time you come in, it's like, oh, whoa, I feel great. Everything's clicking. I'm moving well, and that makes such a huge difference. And that goes back to what you're just saying. I think about programs is where people are so rigid about, well, this is what the program says. This is what you have to do. I'm supposed to do this. And the amount of times, let's say, people where I've spoke to were like, but I'm supposed to do this on my program today, and I just can't. And they're like, they don't know why, but it's.
Oh, I get so annoyed with people with the books. So if you're watching this and you have the book and you're writing down, please don't do it in front of me, because eventually I'm gonna throw it out.
Yeah. So. He's stripped people's bars down before. He's told people to go home.
Well, that kind of just gets back to your mentality.
Yeah.
If you're gonna come in and dick around in front of me, I'm not gonna have it.
No.
So I'm just gonna strip you, like Harry.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. He's getting better though.
He is getting better, when he comes in, and I've seen the kid snatch 90 before, but he's missing 70 like a fucking jerk off, and you're doing it on my bar.
Yeah.
You're not using my bar.
Nope. Move on. Go away. So, baby bro, take that as a lesson. Yeah, he's this past, actually he's in Colorado right now, but this past week, Alex Lee and Shaheen and all those guys have been out at Norwich's gym where he's been training. So like, I would like to think he's been getting a good experience learning with them, and hopefully when he comes back it'll be a little bit harder. I
got to train with a Polish lifter back in 2013 or 14, Krzysztof Zaworski. I met him through a friend of mine, Bart Smarkuki from Sacred Heart. Him and Dave Almeida and Joel Quintog, they lifted up at Sacred Heart.
Okay.
So Bart gave me the opportunity to come up and lift with them. So I trained with him, I don't know, 4 or 5 times while up there. And Mark was actually like, go, take the opportunity, like just lift with them. And I picked up on a lot of little things. The guy who, Krzysztof did not speak English very well, but he took bronze at the 2013 Worlds in the snatch. I think he snatched 161. Yeah. And he clean jerked like 195 as a 77. Yeah. For a guy who is that high level of an athlete, before I even introduced myself, I got there early and I was warming up, and he just came up and he was talking in Polish to Bart about me, just giving me tips. Yeah. And I thought that was like really nice of the guy who doesn't know me from a hole in the wall. Yeah. And just helping somebody else out. That's cool. His mentality was insane, where they would squat every day. He would squat first and then do the lift. And his theory behind it was, I'm going to exhaust my legs, so that when I have to snatch or clean jerk, I have to rely on technique. Yeah. And it makes you focus harder on technique. Also, your adrenaline's down a little bit, so that you can't just rely on adrenaline. You actually have to focus on the technique. And I do that for periods of time where I'll squat first or I'll pull first and then do the lifts second. And it actually benefits. But I got to see that guy clean and jerk 200 kilos in person. That's cool. It was insane. He would follow a program Monday through Thursday. He'd work out twice a day. Fridays was zero, like don't think about anything. You're just maxing out and you're going after everything. And then Saturday was the only day he would front squat, and it was just based off how he felt. Wow, that's cool. So, but he was short. He weighed like 87 kilos at that time, and he was like 5'4". No kidding. Yeah, that's a stout boy. Intense motherfucker. It was awesome. So lifting with him was really cool. Definitely
That's
picked up on some
something,
things.
like, really, I mean, for having seen guys at nationals, seen guys when we went to the American Open and such. I mean, not to discredit anyone from this country, but you see how they lift here, and then when I went to Germany and watched those guys at that International Cup, it's international lifters. They're a different breed of people. Their mentality, the way they approach things. I mean, not to take anything away from American lifters. They're some great lifters and they're intense, but something about the international lifters where they're just the focus that they have and their intensity is just something that's unparalleled. I think a lot of it comes down to just cultural reasons, which we don't have, which helps them. But like as you said, with Christoph and then again a bunch of the guys that I saw, they're monsters. Klokov, the guy's a monster.
Yeah.
And that you can't find that. It's a very particular person that can hone themselves and develop like that as well.
Yeah, a lot of it is that mental focus, that mental edge, and it just all ties together.
Yeah, and it makes them an incredible athlete. Okay, so what advice now would you give younger you, if any, or let's say newer lifters? Yeah, squat more.
It's always been my deficit. My pull's always been greater than my squat.
Okay.
And I make a lot of lifts in competition because of my pull.
Okay.
And my mental edge. The first time I ever clean and jerked 145, I was either 20 or 21 years old, and it was just pure adrenaline and just aggressiveness.
Okay.
It had nothing to do with leg strength because I don't think I could have front squat at 140 at that point, but I somehow
managed to do
whipped that 145. But squat more. When I went to Hofstra as a sophomore, I didn't focus enough on the squat. I did a lot more bodybuilding just because that's what I was at a college gym.
Yeah.
I would still do pulls, but I always loved doing pulls. Younger me would squat more and stretch more.
Okay, that's pretty good advice. I think that's applicable to everybody for the most part. How and that kind of goes to the next. So we got a series of questions here. So, 1 second. Wrong way. Get in there. Okay. So, and from a few of our viewers, if you will. So, Viviana P asks, how you obviously it's similar to what you were just saying. What kind of advice and what kind of input do you put into let's say athletes that you coach, and also how do you maintain their focus should they not be focused or so?
One of my high school coaches told me, if you're gonna do something, do it to the best of your ability.
Okay.
And I asked him because he's not an offensive line guy, but he was coaching offensive line. He's like, I never knew anything about the position, but when I was assigned to it, I said, I'm just going to learn as much as I can and perfect it the best I can. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. So I try to focus that to my athletes.
Okay.
Where if they're dicking around or something like that, you try to put the fear of God into them. Okay. That's what you try to do. Where if they're not going to listen to you, then go home.
Okay.
I'm not going to waste my fucking time if you're not going to come put your effort in. That's really what it comes down to. You're paying me to work for it, to get yourself better. So if you're going to come waste mommy and daddy's money, then get the fuck out of here. That's really what it is. So, it's not punishing them with exercises. It's more punishing them with, like, the fear that if you want to train with me and you're not going to put the effort in, then bye-bye. Okay. That's good. And that's cool because that transcends business, transcends everything. It's how much the person's willing to put in the sport and what they're willing to get out of it. And it goes back to what you were saying before, coming in here, notebooks, phones, all that stuff. It's like, what are you looking to get out of it? Yeah, kind of learned that from Mark too, where Mark, Mark, and everybody that works with Mark, that's younger or new, I tell him he's big on communication. Like, you gotta, if he tells you if you're lifting with him for the first time and he'll tell you, okay, email me tonight what you learned today. And if you don't do it, he's gonna be pissed off.
Or he won't follow you. I remember when first time I met you guys and trained with you guys, I sat there, watched you and Fredo train. I forget who else was there. I think Beth. I don't even remember who else. Maybe Junior and Kevin. But Watson and Adala. But afterwards, went through a bunch of stuff, and then he goes, all right, here's my email. Send me an email of everything you learned tonight. So I gave him, I remember it being a pretty lengthy email. Like, all right, I got to be really detailed for this guy. It's going to be good. Yeah. So he's like, all right, that's very good. But he listed a few other points. But since that point, I mean, whatever I emailed it was correct. And then I would always maintain correspondence with him up until.
More so anything, the effort to try and get better.
And that's exactly it. And the email was more, I think, not even that I remember everything, am I competent enough to know what the guy's saying, but am I willing to put in the effort? And the fact that I drafted him a fairly lengthy email is exactly that, to where, okay, this person's respecting my time and willing to put in what need be.
So taking that from Mark is what I try to do with my athletes. Whether they're just lifters, I'm seeing them for just field work, or both.
Okay.
Is getting to know them and staying on top of them.
Yeah.
I deal with a bunch of kids that, if I can't see them through the week, I give them a workout to do on their own.
Okay.
And it's just, especially nowadays with texting, it's so easy.
Yeah.
You don't have to email. And it's just, okay, how did this go? How did that go? And just going from there.
Yeah.
Eventually over time, like I've worked with Peter and Billy for almost 5 years now.
Okay.
Where they know my language. So I can write them a workout and they're going to know what to do.
Okay.
Where other people, it's tough. One of my biggest pet peeves is when people ask me to write them programs. Because, again, I don't know you from a hole in the wall, so I don't know what you're good at, what you're bad at. You're not going to know what I'm talking about. Yeah. It takes time to develop that rapport with somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with that. And that's a big part of being able to work with somebody. And I have a few people who I'll stay on top of. They'll communicate with me, I'll communicate with them. Or let's say going back to Harry, Dick, I have to text him sometimes and just be like, well, how'd it go? What happened? I told him 2 weeks ago, go for a snatch record. Told him this past week, go for a clean and jerk record. And then I got to chase him down. So you got to let me know right away what's going on. I mean, why should I give you workouts right when you need a workout if you're not going to let me know how each one's going? So, I mean, granted, he's in good care with Shaheen and Norik and Jenny Arthur.
About respect.
But yeah, it's about that, and just knowing that, I got to know. So, okay. Now, next question. What is I'll put 2 parts because you kind of said earlier. Favorite weightlifting exercise, favorite non-weightlifting exercise?
Snatch and blocks.
Okay.
Not even close.
Well, we know that. There's nothing that comes close to that.
Define non-weightlifting exercise. You mean like non-Olympic weightlifting exercise?
Favorite bodybuilding exercise?
Bench press.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Then I'd say handstand push-ups.
Okay.
And then I love doing the speed work. I really do. Whether it's 40, like acceleration work or some type of lateral work, hill work. I actually love doing that stuff. Yeah. Where for me, it just transitions over, like box jumps, something like that, where like any type of plyometric or movement.
That's cool.
Yeah, I like doing that stuff. Yeah.
All right. Next question. Let's see. Doug S. wants to know, did you ever get Benadryl for all of those bee stings that you have?
No.
No? Okay. Can we zoom in? Check out all these bee stings, this guy? Not to mention, he's got veins. It looks like a road map. It's incredible. Okay. Next. Favorite competition?
Probably, I'd say 2.
Okay.
The last one I did, obviously, because it was my best one.
Yeah.
Where that was, I mean, we talk about this all the time. That was probably my best focus.
Yeah.
And that competition was in May.
Okay.
And me and Amanda had gone to Puerto Rico back in the January before that. And
that's
I remember
right.
I wasn't lifting with you guys, and I had done one workout before we went away. And I was like, all right, I think I'm going to train with you guys when I get back. I'll take this week of vacation. When I come back, I'm fully committed. And this is another reason why I love Mark, because he knows how to get me without telling me. He was working on Amanda, and he said something like, oh, yeah, Mike's too scared to lift heavy anymore. He's afraid of getting hurt. Yeah. And she told me that, and I was fucking ready to go. Yeah. So that was my best mental laser focus throughout the entire training, where Mark actually told me to calm down at one point.
Oh, I remember that.
But I wasn't fucking calm down.
Well, because you were, I remember why he told you to calm down too. But
we won't get into that because it might hurt some feelings.
Yeah, but that was great though. We were both fired up. That was a good time.
Essentially, I don't think men and women should train together, but sorry.
Well,
that's what it is.
You can, but you gotta respect the environment. If you're not gonna respect the environment,
so that last competition where I did 121, 151 was my favorite one. I'm still pissed off at it though because I missed my second attempt was 121. I missed it behind. I think I could have made 125. Actually, I don't think. I know I could have made 125 that day. And then he opened me with 140 in the clean jerk when I could have opened 145 and taken a crack at 155. Yeah, definitely. But overall, it was probably my best. Mr. Smith, you gave me one of my favorite compliments because I was walking around. The competition was delayed, of course. What competition isn't fucking delayed? But he said something like, "You're walking around like a panther, just ready to pounce." Because I was just walking around don't talk to me. When I get in the zone, just don't even look at me. And even Christian was like trying to like load the bar for me or something like that. And I just yelled at him, and then he just walked away like the little dog that he is. So, but that was one of my favorite competitions. The other favorite competition was probably the FDU meet. I was 20 or 21. I don't know the year.
Okay.
But, maybe it was 2009, where I did the 145. Okay. We went to FDU 5 or 6 years in a row.
Yeah.
I just love that meet. It was a higher level local meet. It was out in Jersey. It just had a really good vibe to it, where the warm-up room was always the same, the lifting room was always the same. I had a bunch of family there.
Yeah, I remember that. They had the wine and the Gatorade,
wine, sandwiches,
bananas, and everything.
Yeah,
all
they don't
over
even
the place.
watch me lift. They just,
they're
just there to communicate and eat and drink. And
that was great.
But that was probably one of my favorite meets because I did the 145 for the first time.
I remember that. That was a really cool meet.
It was before we.
Oh, that was before that?
Yeah, it was before we met.
Okay.
Because that was like 2009, 2008.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I see. I remember that now because I'm trying to remember what you did that time. I don't even remember.
The first meet where we went to FDU, I made 115, 145. I missed 120 behind, missed 150.
Okay.
So that meet was the first time that I ever attempted a 270 total.
Yeah.
But I walked away with 260.
Yeah, 260.
Yeah. They actually didn't give me 145 that day. They said
Really?
I dropped it too early. Mark lost his shit.
Really?
That's why he didn't have me take 145.
Okay.
Again, because I made it.
Yeah.
And I made it, and the guy said down, and I put it down, but he didn't. Local referees suck balls. So.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do about that?
Favoritism,
Whatever.
you know about that. Let's see. Let's go to another question here. What are your measurements? What's your waist?
32.
32. Okay, I'm a 32 also. Actually, I don't know. My belt got a little bit bigger. We'll save that for later. We won't ask that. Let's see. I have one more question. Let's come back to my other side. What's advice you would give to new lifters coming into the gym? Let's say anyone in here.
Don't worry about your numbers.
Yeah.
Don't worry about your numbers. Leave the ego at the door.
Okay. Why?
Because if you focus on the numbers, you're not focusing on your technique, and you're not trusting the process. Mark taught me at a young age, it takes a lifter 3 to 5 years to really understand the snatch. And it really took me like 3 to 5 years to understand the snatch.
100% agree with that. I'd say it probably took me longer.
Don't worry about hitting your thigh. Don't worry about going from the floor. Just take everything for what it is. Do it slower. That would be my advice. Check your ego at the door. Don't worry about the numbers. Just focus on doing something a little bit better each time.
Yeah.
Whether it takes you a month to do something a little bit better,
okay,
or a day, or a year, just get a little bit better. Don't worry about the big picture.
Yeah. I mean, this is something that takes years to get.
And be
to
consistent.
Learn. That's a big part.
You can't come in here once a week and expect to get better. Just like when I have athletes that want to come see me once a week, you're not getting shit done in once a week.
No,
it's just not. You want to do this. It's more than just 3 times a week. Like we usually train 3 times a week.
Yeah.
I tried doing the 4, can't do it. 2, I can kind of get by.
Okay.
But be consistent.
Yeah.
And focus on what you're doing on the off days too, like active recovery stuff. Whether you're foam rolling, massage, sauna, eat right, and you could I do bodybuilding on my days off because that actually helps with like benching. Okay. Helps my lockout. Yeah. For my jerk, for my snatch. Don't tell Mark.
He'll watch this. I'm guaranteed. Cool. Well, that about wraps up all the questions. Everything we got for now. I appreciate you coming on and talking. We got to have you come on again, my brother. I love you. So you guys will find this.
I got one more thing.
You got one more thing? Please, by all means.
Whether it's Dan, me, Mark, this is actually my biggest point of advice.
All right, this is a good one.
If somebody's giving you a correction or coaching you, do not say I know. Don't fucking say I know, because you don't fucking know. Because if you fucking knew, they wouldn't be fucking coaching you. So don't say I know. Either say okay or yes. And if you're not understanding what Dan's telling you to do, don't respond. Walk over to him when he's done coaching somebody else. You ask him quietly. Don't ask him from across the room. Walk over, sit down next to him, and be like, hey, look, this is what you told me. I don't understand it. Can you say it a different way? Because by standing here on the platform, saying I know, just fucking disrespects everything. So don't say I know, because you're going to drive me nuts.
I love it. See, that's why he's the sheriff. He comes in here and people can run for cover. They scurry behind the mats.
Got to put the fear of God into people.
You do, and that's a good thing. I mean, last week was a great example of that. Mountain Man. So awesome. I love that.
All right.
Cool. Thanks, dude. Love you. Appreciate everything. We'll have him on again soon because there's going to be so much more we can go over. We can probably go for like 4 hours. But until next time, catch the link. No traps, no glory. And we'll see you then.